June 3. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Apple Podcast. You can also listen to us on your smart speaker. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. We're also on online digital radio. You can visit our website, thesportscast.net, for the latest. And you could also follow us on Twitter and Instagram with the same handle, the Sportscast1. Also, check out our app, the Sportscast. You can hear our radio, hear our podcast, and you can also read the latest in news and sports news. A lot going on in basketball. The NBA has released, they were predicted to release this news after the finals of Ja Morant being suspended 25 games. And join us all the way from upstate New York, Ryan Christa, the sports guy. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Santiago, it's good to see you. It's a weird couple of days, since pretty much April. Been locked in, almost every night, with NBA or NHL playoffs, and all of a sudden it comes to the whole, and all of a sudden it's baseball season.
Baseball season, College World Series. Of course,
yeah.
A lot of noise coming on from Major League Baseball as well. Marlins are number 2 or number 1 by now.
Yeah, the Marlins are doing well. Well, no surprise, being down in Florida, they're getting the magic touchdown there. So.
Well, there you have it. Of course, NBA news is hitting hard this week. Of course, NFL, but we'll cover first. Ja Morant officially been suspended for 25 games after he displayed a gun on social media, Instagram to be precise, in May. The incident was the second time Morant has branded a weapon live on Instagram. He was suspended, Ryan, for 8 games by the league in March, so he's been suspended before. After broadcasting himself, the Grizzlies have already suspended Morant indefinitely from all team activities for the May incident. Your thoughts over this news matter?
Ja Morant is a special talent, one of my favorite players to watch. I think that when we talked about this a couple months ago, I was like, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just around bad people sometimes, and bad company corrupts you, So, I think this is just one more wake-up call, and more incidents like this, and, his whole career is over. It's not just the money he makes from, playing basketball. It's the money he makes from endorsements, He's a guy, the Grizzlies and the NBA can really market, to expand their league, But, incidents like that, he's going to be a guy, not just, maybe he'll be in the league, but he won't be a guy that's going to get, these endorsement deals. And no one wants to market a guy, who's, involved in incidents like that. So this is big for him. This is, one of those things that, if we can put this behind him, have a good career, be a solid citizen, people will forget about this. People, time heals. Years from now, I think we're going to hopefully forget about, this bad couple of months for Ja Morant. But that's my hope,
Yeah, the Grizzlies and Ja Morant were eliminated by the Los Angeles Lakers. Ja Morant released a statement right after, maybe a few minutes after the NBA's release. He said, "I have had time to reflect, and I realize how much hurt I've caused. I want to apologize to the NBA, the Grizzlies, my teammates in the city of Memphis, to Adam Silver, Zach Kleiman, and Robert Pera, who gave me the opportunity to be a professional athlete and have supported me. I'm sorry for the harm I've done to the kids who I look up to me. I'm sorry for the failing you as a role model. I promise I'm going to be better. To all my sponsors, I'm going to be better representation of our brands, and to all my fans, I'm going to make it up to you. I promise." Pretty detailed statement, Ryan. You mentioned about sponsors. That's key. He doesn't want to lose those sponsors. Those paychecks will go down.
Absolutely. That's key to his branding. Like I said, he's at kind of that prime, getting into that prime of his career where, shoe companies, Gatorade, Nike, whatever it is, are looking at this guy and say, he's the future of the NBA. I mean, Santiago, halfway through the year, the Grizzlies were top of the world, and then John Moran gets hurt, and then he gets in trouble.
In
And they
March.
never really rebounded, and then Dylan Brooks goes crazy and kind of opens up the case against rattles LeBron James, and then there you go, they get eliminated. So it's been a tough couple weeks, couple months for Grizzlies, because halfway through the year, it looks like no one was going to stop this team, So, I mean, they were better, they were on top of the West easily over the Nuggets, And not saying they were a better team than the Nuggets, but, they definitely had a better record, But so that, they can kind of rebound off this. I think they'll be able, they played without John Moran for a period of time. I think they'll be okay. So we'll see what happens to the Grizzlies as an organization. They've already said they have no intention of bringing back Dylan Brooks back to the organization, which is, I mean, he's kind of a nutcase, but he's kind of like a Ron Artest, a necessary
good defender.
Yeah, great defender, great. When he keeps his mouth shut, he's a productive player on both ends of the court. But, understanding, why they need to kind of move on, So the Grizzlies are trying to cut their losses as an organization, realize they still have John Morant, Desmond Bain, Jackson, Defensive Player of the Year. So they got some building pieces. They'll be okay. That include players like Brandon Clark, who missed most of the year, end of the year, Steven Adams, and there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful for the Grizzlies, and they can get through the 25 games, and John Moran can kind of clean up his act. I think they'll be okay.
To be precise, Moran's sponsors or his endorsement deals are with Nike, Powerade. Those are the top two that he is sponsored with. And, of course, some other ones as well. Let me finish the statement. I'm spending the offseason and my suspension continuing to work on my own mental health and decision-making. I'm also going to be training so that I'm ready to go back when I can be on the court. I know my teammates are going to hold it down. And I'm so sorry I won't be out there with you at the beginning of the season. So it's 25 games at the beginning of the season. I hope you'll give me the chance to prove to you over time I'm a better man than what I've been showing you. I'm glad he released a statement. Something different from Kyrie Irving, which I don't think he ever did. Or maybe he tweeted something out. But he's taking responsibility, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think he understands whether, he's truly remorseful, that will tell in time. But, I think him and the NBA were working together, for the best for him, Obviously, he knew this suspension was coming, so gave him time. And I think that's why they kind of delayed the announcement to give him time to, get his own public statement right, and they determined he was remorseful and all that to give him to say the right words. Obviously, that sounds really good on paper, but we'll see. Time will tell if he actually, can talk the talk.
Yeah, and NBA probably had this analyze probably during the playoffs, but they didn't want to give attention, during the finals or anything. They just wanted to get this afterwards, which is probably a smart move.
It's a smart PR move. I mean, why bring negative attention to the league when this is going to be a news story, and any time you direct attention away from the finals, which is, the ultimate apex of your season for the NBA. So,
yeah, which let's segue to that. This past Monday, the Denver Nuggets defeated the Miami Heat in 5 games, won the series 4-1. It was not close, you can say. Game 2 was probably the closest game of all the finals. Nikola Jokic won the MVP. Your thoughts over this series, and was it a blowout to you?
It was, even like game 5, I mean, even though it's back and forth, even to the last closing seconds, you just kind of knew the Nuggets are going to win. They just kind of had the F factor. I think that the Heat did the best they could, and got through the Eastern Conference. To me, it was a blown opportunity for the Celtics. I mean, we kind of talked about this beforehand. This is a team that was probably better on paper than the Heat. The Heat were just clutch when they had to, and I think would have been a better finals if the Celtics had played the Nuggets. But
No, don't say that.
I just I was not I'm the Heat won and they won fair and square. They deserved the opportunity to play in the finals. But like I said, the Celtics just have a better team on paper, and they probably would have matched up a little better. They just had no answers. For either you try to stack Jokic, they had no answers for Murray. I just think that the Celtics may have been able to handle them a little better, but they couldn't handle the Heat, so they probably couldn't handle the Nuggets either. So, there's nothing against the Heat. Nothing against Eric Spoelstra. It was more just a credit to the Nuggets didn't really change the way they do every other game. The Nuggets kind of played through Murray and Jokic, and we talked in game 2, what was the big difference is that basically they let Jokic score, so Jokic's going to be the playmaker, but the Nuggets adjusted from that. If Jokic gets triple doubles, if he gets in the 20s, more than 10 assists, it was really tough. But if he got 40 points, one game he got 40 points and 4 assists, they're just not the same team. So, kudos for the Nuggets for making adjustments and Murray really stepping up and, kind of just being that, cold superstar with Jokic. Jokic won the MVP, but I think Murray was right there almost every single game with him. And also, the role with Aaron Gordon at times was, unstoppable. Michael Porter was great. I think you just hire quality role players too. There's nothing wrong with Masteroff or Dave Vincent or Duncan Robinson or Caleb Martin, but they're not the same level that the role players of the Nuggets were. I think Jimmy Buckets might have been at times the best player in the court at times. Bam Adebayo played much better than he did against the Celtics, but it just wasn't enough, to win a series against the quality team of Denver. And this is coming. Denver's been putting his team together in the era of where coaches get fired, rather quickly. I commend the Nuggets and the organization for having patience with Mike Malone and their superstars, that having faith that that they can get it together. I say one of the best things that happened to the Heat. Not say personally to Jamal Murray, but when he got hurt, it really changed the mindset of Jokic. Jokic went from a guy who was just primarily just a scorer, then the ball just kind of he went from to a scorer playmaker role when Murray was there, and then when Murray came back, adding another type of player like him, from a different position, a guard position, that just really became really tough for other teams, and they just built, a system around there. So also, we didn't get much playing time, but I'd like to give credit to our local superstar, Thomas Bryant of the Nuggets, for being the first player, in a long time from Rochester to hoist the NBA championship trophy.
Yeah, an incredible run by him and the Denver Nuggets. Jokic, I actually heard Jokic did not want to go to the parade and want to go to the championship parade in Colorado.
Yeah, he's not much for attention, he's very personal. He likes to keep to himself. Even during the championship night, I think he was kind of shook the hands of the Heat, gave some hugs, and he would really just been fine just going back to the locker room to celebrate. He's not much for the public celebration, so, but that's just kind of guy Jokic is, so, but I think in the end he did enjoy himself being on the parade, though.
But the Nuggets kind of skated through. I think the closest series they'd had, which was not saying much, was against Phoenix. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, I mean, they got 2-2 with Phoenix, and but Phoenix will be a different animal. I think Vogel is, I think they see what he did with the Lakers, in the bubble to get them to the championship, and seeing that he's been able through his time. I don't think he's like a guy who gets everybody excited. You hire Frank Vogel. I don't know. I don't think I think he's a good coach, and I think sometimes he gets a bad rap, but this is a guy I think who can help bring this team to the next level. Whether that's with Chris Paul or not with Chris Paul, but we know it'll be with Booker and Durant. Whether that's with AN or not, that time will tell. They have to make some hard choices and build it. Kind of build this roster to a little bit differently to kind of compete with the Nuggets for a championship.
Speaking about the Suns and Chris Paul, the Phoenix Suns are planning to waive Chris Paul, which was a week ago. But Chris Paul said this week he wants to stay in Phoenix, possibly maybe restructuring his contract. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is basically telling Chris Paul, restructure your contract or we're releasing you.
He likes Phoenix.
He likes Phoenix, and who wouldn't want to play with Booker and Durant? You want to lengthen your career as a point guard, play with players who don't make you have to work that hard. And I think he's realizing he can't be that guy who just is a focal that lead guard anymore. That's not he doesn't have the energy, the legs left to do it. But if he can find that smaller role, with it, playing with players like me or Booker and Durant, this could lengthen his career a little more. But basically, they can't, with that taking a lesser role, they can't afford to be paying him, superstar type money.
Now, those days are over for CP3. We'll see what happens with this offseason in the NBA. Let's go into the Hornets. Charlotte is going to be sold. Michael Jordan is finalizing this deal with a group led by Gabe Plotkin and Rich Schnall. The 5-time MVP as a player, was the majority owner of his home state's franchise for 13 years. Hornets will have a new owner, maybe some hope for that city and that team to go further in the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah, it's Michael Jordan, obviously, was the best, or not one of the best players ever. Superstar, athlete, superstar entertainer, businessman, just not a good owner, Santiago. Not a good owner. Most people say the best thing he did for the Hornets was bringing back the name the Hornets.
From the Bobcats.
Other than that, the team's just fluttered. He didn't make wise choices of GMs, coaches, direction of the organization. It just wasn't a good fit for him. They're probably best for the organization as a whole. They move on. You get fresh blood. Making decisions around there. So, like I said, he succeeded pretty much everything else he did in life except for this. So, he can't be perfect, I guess.
Can't be perfect. We'll see when this deal will be finalized, probably as soon as this week. Warriors got a new GM, Mike Dunleavy Jr., not his dad, the coach, but Mike Dunleavy Jr. will be tapped as the new general manager of the Warriors, who were eliminated by the Los Angeles Lakers. This Warriors team is kind of getting old. We don't know what's going to happen with Draymond Green. And of course, the previous GM, he resigned a couple weeks ago. Bob Myers, your thoughts over this new era for the Warriors, I guess?
They're basically looking for somebody who will reinvent the map. The Warriors, they've succeeded at everything, and that with the success of drafting good players who end up being good, is that you've got a lot of good players on your roster, and good players want to get paid. There's only so much money to be for players to get paid, So obviously you got your core duo of Curry and Thompson. They're not going anywhere. Green, you could say, is part of that core, but they're at the crossroads with Green. Is he
I'm
really worth
tired
it?
of his dramatic theatrics.
Yeah, is he really worth it? We'll see, yo. Um, my guess is that Myers and ownership had different ideas on how money should be spent. And I think it's getting tiresome to try to make this work every year, to keep everybody happy. And, so you guys, it's basically another fresh voice in there, maybe a different ideas on the way you can construct this roster. I think, I don't think there's any bad blood with Myers and ownership. I just think it's hard, You don't want to have to be the one to make the decisions. You keep bringing or you're going to keep trade, some of these other pieces they brought in,
Andrew Wiggins and the other other young players.
Andrew, they could have hit home runs and everything. Myers was great at drafting. He was great at getting Wiggins in a trade was masterful for D'Angelo Russell. Wow. But at the same time,
Jordan Poole was also in that addition. Also bringing in Dante DiVincenzo, so he has put some pieces in there.
His brother Baker Dunleavy just became the GM of NBA team, but the Villanova basketball. He was once, I think, formerly the coach of Quinnipiac College in Connecticut. So, it's a transitional time for the Dunleavy family. They're now both in decision making for rosters of the NBA and college teams. So.
Yeah, Dunleavy, played professional basketball. He was a scout. He started off after his post-basketball playing career. He started as a scout for the Golden State Warriors. Then he was promoted in 2019 to assistant general manager of the Warriors. And then 2021, he was promoted to vice president of basketball operations. So he's moved up the ladder pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of a credit to the type of person that's, is smart. So, best of luck to him in his endeavors here as new GM for the Warriors. He's going to have a lot of tough decisions to be made.
His first decision is probably Draymond Green.
Could be, yeah. I obviously ownership is comfortable with his mindset on the roster. So I think when you keep a guy, you try to keep a guy in house. Maybe it wasn't ultimately his decision on all the decisions of the organization. The GM, is kind of it's different levels now. I think you have really two levels of who have like a president who's basketball operations who kind of has the final say over a roster, but he's probably made a lot of the little decisions, whether he's probably more connected to the the scouting and the G League roster, and all that. Now he's going to be the guy who ultimately, he's deciding, who's going to get paid and who's not going to get paid. So it's a little different of mindset.
There you have it. The Warriors. We'll see if they extend their dynasty for a bit. Let's go into soccer. The U.S. beat Mexico 3-0 in a Nations League semifinal yesterday. 2 goals by Pulisic, a goal by Francisco Pepe. Mexico nowhere to be found. We'll face Canada this Sunday. Huge win by the U.S. Ryan.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of distracted everybody from the big news of the day, and that's Greg Berhalter coming back as manager of the U.S. national team.
After 6 months, I hate this.
Yeah, that's weird. I think I really thought it was Jesse Marsh's job, and they were just waiting for the tournament to be over.
Yeah, which is interesting. The whole timing of the whole situation. Yesterday around 6 p.m., Jesse Marsh's agent tweeted out that he would not be the coach for the U.S. And then an hour later, Berhalter was going to be the manager. And the reason why the 6-month hiatus is because he was under investigation about a situation with his current wife when she was a girlfriend that he harassed her and all that. And of course, the Gio Reyna situation with the parents and Claudio and Greg Berhalter. So I guess my guess, Ryan, that the U.S. Hockey Federation wanted Marge as their first choice. If they didn't get him, then Berhalter was going to be the guy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But props to whatever. Not being distracted by that. They were great last night. Pulisic was great. Did the ball movement. It was just a fun match to watch. Minus last
very competitive
20 minutes. Yeah, very competitive. Last 20 minutes kind of got a little ugly. Mexico kind of lost their cool. Fortunately, we're down a couple players for the championship on Sunday because of I think bad roughing. I think the man in the middle lost control and was just throwing out red cards. For U.S. players being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I think Mexico fans want Mexico fans. They don't like to lose, and especially don't like to lose the United States.
Exactly, and it was the debut of Florent Balogun, a prospect that had dual citizenship. He could choose England or the U.S. He chose the U.S. He scored 20 goals for his club in France for Ligue 1. So he was a prospect that the U.S. really wanted, and could solve our striker issues. We don't have striker issues because we had tons of strikers. But of course, Happy was going to be our choice, but Balogun there might be a striker competition for that role.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can give a little bit of help to Pulisic. Pulisic is just obviously hands down the present, the future of U.S. soccer. But we need that co-guy. I think that's what was lacking in the World Cup. There was every game it seemed like it was all on Pulisic. To be the playmaker and finisher. Hopefully, getting other pieces around him. He can be free to be the player. He needs to be. So I think this is great. The future is great. Again, this is even like a big tournament. Obviously, I think eyes are set on the Gold Cup here in a couple weeks. To see. I even know who's going to be coaching the goal. If it's going to be.
Yeah, it has been officially announced that Berhalter will be the head coach. I guess they might move him in. I mean, he does know the players, and he does have the roster notes from the prior 4 years. So I mean, I don't see why not start. And he's had a 6-month vacation, so I don't see why not. He'll start coaching for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. So, again, so there's all eyes on the Euros here for the next month or so. Hopefully, continue to build some momentum. Sunday will be interesting. Canada's good. They didn't do good in the World Cup, but this is an up-and-coming soccer powerhouse in CONCACAF. It'd be nice to get a three-way. I feel like there's so much pressure on the U.S. playing Mexico every day, and that game, now, you have another rival that, close proximity, to us.
Well, you're pretty close to them, aren't they? I mean, aren't you?
Yeah. You're probably, you feel it probably differently being down in Florida than, Mexico is so close, but here,
more like Cuba.
Yeah. It's really interesting, I always think about Canada's kind of a rise in sports, You look at a lot of NBA players in basketball, like a Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is from Toronto. You've got Toronto and the province Ontario and Quebec. You've got a lot of European influence. I've always just wondered why this team, Canada Soccer, just hasn't gained momentum. But, finally they are. It is a team. A country that's so international based. Like it's a hodgepodge. You have an English, base to it, but then you got an English and French base to it, and then mix it other, hodgepodge of countries, around the world. So
Yeah, a lot of
it was
different
only
European Italians in Montreal and all that. Yeah.
yeah, it was only a matter of time before soccer really hit their stride. It's always been popular. You look at attendance in MLS, whether it be at Montreal or Toronto or Vancouver, obviously
Don't
very
worry, Lionel
popular.
Messi will fix that issue.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
So yeah. So very
Um,
very exciting times for U.S. soccer for sure.
awesome. Well, anything else before we head into predictions?
If everybody's into our last college sporting event of this calendar year is the College World Series, which will conclude this academic year of sports. We got a lot of unique field. You got some SEC powerhouses because the SEC is good at everything. You got Florida, LSU, and Tennessee. So you got the three kind of headliners, in this tournament in the sense of name recognition. But if you're into college baseball, the team to beat is from North Carolina, and that's from Winston-Salem, and that's the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, who are leading the top 5 in pitching and hitting in the NCAA. So they're a tough out. And if you're into college baseball, you understand that tournaments held, World Series held in Omaha, Nebraska, at Charles Schwab Stadium, which plays much different than any college stadium, and that most teams play because it's big. It's spacious, and college baseball is usually very, very much dependent on the home run, which you're not going to get a lot of those there. So the game's different. Teams that don't depend on power and don't are good defenders, and you got to have good pitching depth because this tournament you got to win 4 games to win the championship. So you need depth to succeed.
There you have it. Last college sports in the academic year, and then right after that, college football in August. Let's go into predictions. Game 1 today, Oral Roberts versus TCU. Who you got, Ryan?
2 teams that if you asked them a couple months ago, probably people wouldn't predict it would be here, but Oral Roberts a 4 seed, so that's like equivalent to like somebody like an FAU Santiago making it to the Final Four. And then you got TCU, which is a team which middle of the season was 500 and basically gone on a tear since then. So I'm going to go TCU. I just based on talent in the roster, but Oral Roberts is another team that won 23 out of 24 games, so they're hot too. So we'll see.
Virginia versus Florida. Your Gators. I'm not sure if you're a Florida baseball fan as well.
I am, Santiago. I got my living room is all gated up for this next couple weeks, hopefully of baseball. I'm wearing my Gators baseball hat. I'm going to go with my heart and think this ultra talented Gators team with a team full of hitters and pitchers will get the job done at least today.
Virginia Cavaliers loses against the Gators. Tomorrow, Wake Forest versus Stanford. Who you got?
Like I said, Stanford's team's been to Omaha 3 times, so they got experience. Wake is, to me, the team to beat in this tournament, so I'm going to go with them. And I'll say this, LSU, Tennessee. LSU, if you're familiar with college baseball, you'll know the name of Paul Skeens, who will be the number 1 player drafted in the MLB draft here in a couple of weeks. But get familiar with him because he is a dynamite pitcher. So they will definitely win game 1 over Tennessee.
LSU wins. USA versus Canada on Sunday night.
All right, why not? USA all the way.
And should the Miami Heat get Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard from the Blazers?
Kind of like, it seems like you're playing a little bit of video game logic here, Santiago. But yeah, I think anybody would say that he need one more superstar to get the job done in the finals. I think Damian Lillard would be great. I don't know if it gets done. The problem with Bradley Beal is he's got a humongous contract, and he would definitely probably want to go to the Heat, so that's not the issue. He does have a no trade clause. So he's, I think, the only player in the NBA right now who has a no trade clause. So he's pretty much ultimately gonna decide on his future, and that's all dependent. They haven't officially decided that they're going in a total rebuild mode. But the fact that the Wizards hired, somebody from the Thunder front office makes you feel like they're gonna go in that way the Thunder thinking, and that's basically tank. So I think a lot of those pieces on the Wizards roster that maybe not young, but are gonna definitely be movable. So maybe like a Kristaps Porzingis could see being on the move too.
There you have it, Ryan Christa with his Miami Heat insight. Ryan, what is the best way to reach you online to talk to you about, hey, should I be planning 4th of July by now?
I'm going to talk before 18. Yeah. I don't know. It's never too early to start playing.
Never start planning. You can reach us at the Sportscast1 on Twitter and Instagram, or go to our website, thesportscast.net. A lot of sports going on. Summer sports. We got Gold Cup. We got the College World Series, NBA offseason news. Of course, the NBA draft coming up. So a lot going on. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on to the Sportscast.
Santiago, it's good to be here and good talking some sports.
Some sports in June. And this was your